I'll tell you what, Richard, these introductions get better by the event. Thank you very much. Yes, good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Brands Hatch and part one of this BRSCC live streamed event. And our Mazda content, as Richard quite rightly says, will be taking up the bulk of today's action. The three hugely popular championships catering for Mazda MX5 machinery that are run by the BRSCC are taking centre stage, at least through this morning anyway, with a race apiece for the three championships, and it is the Mazda MX5 Clubman Championship which makes its way out first. Now, as Richard was telling us, they were with us at Silverstone, our first live streamed event of the season a few weeks ago on the full Grand Prix circuit, and it saw two race victories for Brad Jones. Brad has been running in the MX5 Championship proper, if you like, for the last number of seasons, sort of focusing a bit more on Clubman this year, and got his season off to the perfect start. Here's how they line up then for the first of two 15-minute races today. It's Paul Bateman on pole, alongside him Jordan Pimley, with Brad Jones, the double winner from Silverstone, starting inside of row 2 alongside Jamie Turner. Matthew Fletcher and John Pethick together on the third row of the grid, with Nick Ledoyen and Del Pace completing the top 8, and the top 10 rounded out by Christian Dan and Jake Pace. So the two Pace family members qualifying pretty close together there. Row number 6 then is where we find Hayden McDonald and Bo Parry. Bo Parry, another driver with years of MX5 Championship experience, moving into Clubman for this weekend. Jake Stiles and Kevin Dengate are next. Kevin Dengate, often one to watch for in the wet, and he'll be starting from the outside of row 7. Jack Worry and Alan Hawkins are together next. Now, Alan Hawkins is second in the championship after 2 podiums at Silverstone. Did not get along with the wet conditions in qualifying too well, though. He's got some ground to make up. Michael Pearce and Kevin Bird are together on row number 9, and the top 20 completed by Russell Halley and Jordan Head. As we saw at Silverstone, packed grids once more this weekend. We're going all the way down to 17 rows on this particular grid. The 11th of those rows shared by Will Bream and Tom Cannon, with Tom Davis and Chris Thelwell completing the 12th row of the grid. Then we have got Chris Watts and Amir Naran together on row number 13. Row 14 we'll see Chris Whitmore and Simon Privet starting alongside each other. There they are as we get now towards the back end of the top 30. Row 15 for Peter Williams and Tom Wood, with Peter Bell, Simon Browning and Jason Aisbert rounding out the 33 runners. So, cars lining up on the grid then. Back row is pretty much complete now. It was a wet track for qualifying. It is still damp, but there is the hint, maybe, of a dry racing line starting to emerge. Be interesting to see how the track conditions develop over the next 15 minutes of racing as round number 3 of the Mazda MX5 Clubman Championship prepares to get underway. The blue machine is Paul Bateman, the black with the yellow stripes, that's Jordan Pimley, and then the red, white and blue AB Motorsport car, Brad Jones, the championship leader, starting third on the grid. Keep an eye to the jigsaw car of Alan Hawkins as well. You can just see him towards the back of shots, second in the championship. John Pethick is third in the points. He is the blue car with the white stripe who starts on the outside of row number 3. Red lights go out, away we go, and Pethick makes a really good start. Look at that blue machine flying past the championship leader Brad Jones, who got a bit bogged down at the start. John Pethick is already third and going for second as they head into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. It's the pole sitter Paul Bateman who will lead them down the hill, though, through one of the most iconic corners in British motorsport. There's a bit of leaning on each other going on in the midfield. They just about get through in one piece, though. Bateman leading the way, Pimley fending off the charging John Pethick for second, and Brad Jones with a bit of work to do already. That's Kevin Dengate going out wide at Druids, and there's been a big stack up further back, and around goes a car. That is not Pethick, it's another one of the similarly liveried cars of Christian Dan. Just avoids the barriers. I can see out of the window we've got 2 or 3 cars off on the entry to Druids as well. There you can see them. That is the number 28 car, Chris Watts, and I think that's number 70, Michael Pearce, with whom he has tangled. There were others involved, though, who may be carrying some damage as they make their way now towards the end of the first lap around this Brands Hatch Indy circuit, the shorter of the 2 layouts in use. Big sideways moment there for Will Bream in the red number 264 as he tries to find some grip on the inside at clearways, which is almost impossible to do, really, in the damp conditions. Across the line we go then, a lively start to the race as we expected. Bateman leads the way, Pimley second, Pethick third, Fletcher fourth, Brad Jones down to 5th, so not a terrible qualifying effort for Brad, but certainly he'd have been aiming for the front row and has gone backwards rather than forwards on this opening lap. He is right in the thick of this battle for third place, though, as up the inside goes Matthew Fletcher into the braking zone at Druids. To the outside goes the number 9 of Jamie Turner, and actually Brad Jones will end up losing another place, but there were certainly yellow flags out there, because you can see Michael Pearce's car as Jake Pace, that was, I think, had a big slide coming, no, Del Pace, sorry, 128 having a slide out of Druids. Definitely there were yellow flags at Druids as Michael Pearce's car was still on the inside of the track, and Michael himself was trudging away to a place of safety, so no overtaking in theory through Druids corner. You can quite clearly see the number 9 car of Jamie Turner that started the lap down the order has gained some positions. Number 57 is off on the exit of Druids as well. So Druids corner, as was the case in qualifying, catching a number of people out. That was Simon Browning, the number 57 car, who had a quick rotation onto the grass, but has managed to pick his way back out onto the track again. So Bateman continues to lead, Pimley in second, Jamie Turner up 3 positions on that lap into third, and now here comes Matthew Fletcher up the inside of John Pethick as well. So that's for 4th position, dropping down the hill. Brad Jones 9th at the end of the lap, so something happened to Brad that we didn't see on camera towards the end of that second lap of the race, and he's dropped right down the order. Now there, 7.22, that is Alan Hawkins. Alan Hawkins charging up the order. Remember, I said he started at disappointing 16th place, while Hawkins was 14th at the start of the lap, but I reckon he's further up than that now. He's battling away here with Jake Stiles in the number 2 and the number 59 machine of Kevin Bird. So Kevin Bird was 13th, Stiles was 12th at the start of the lap. So absolutely some more ground gained by Hawkins, and of course, as the early championship leader Brad Jones slips down the order, they're perhaps going to meet in the middle here before too much longer. There is Hawkins looking up the inside of Bird, excuse me, into the final corner. Oh, cars off at Clearways. That's been another familiar sight through qualifying. One of the Go For It racing cars bouncing through the mud, and there was another car having a slide just behind. Now, who might they be? They were outside of the top 20, I think, at the time. So we'll watch to the timing screens to see who starts dropping positions. Looks like it was 991 and 577. 991 was Simon Privet, and 577 Chris Thelwell, and they were the two who found themselves in a bit of bother at Clearways corner. So the damp, greasy conditions catching people out a little bit. We've had a multitude of red flags during the qualifying sessions today, particularly for MX5 Super Cup, who are coming up next. Actually, I think they notched up 4 red flags just through drivers slipping off the track. It is a really difficult racetrack, this, in the wet, with not a lot of grip to be found on the traditional racing line. Someone else has had a moment there, I think, coming out of Druids corner, the blue number 20 car again. That's the second time Christian Dan has been caught out by the tight right-hand hairpin. So just before that, Brad Jones continuing to gain ground as well. He might now be back into the top half dozen. Let's see. No change in the order ahead of him, but Jones, well, 7th. So Del Pace, the next man that he's trying to catch, but Del is 2.1 seconds up the road as 3rd place man Jamie Turner sets the new fastest lap, a 103.926, compares to a pole position time in the wet of a 105.5, so we're a second and a half, if not more, quicker than that already. 65 off at Clearways, that's Peter Williams, but thankfully continues on his way. Brands Hatch, very much an old school racetrack, so unlike Silverstone, where an off-track excursion probably you will be able to continue from unimpeded largely thanks to the tarmac runoff areas. Here, if you go off, it's grass at best, but more than likely a gravel trap that will catch you, so very easy to get stuck in those gravel traps. As here, the fight for the race lead is getting very intense. Look at that, Pimley through ahead of Paul Bateman. Jordan Pimley roughing Bateman up a little bit out of Clearways corner, and that's now really allowed Jamie Turner to close in. So 3 for the lead as they head to Paddock Hill Bend, and Jamie Turner is hunting around on the inside line. Now that inside is really not very grippy in the wet, typically, so let's see how that pans out on the exit. Well, actually, Paul Bateman finds a good amount of traction on the inside. He's back up the inside of Pimley towards Druids corner, and Turner is looking up the inside too. This is all allowing Matthew Fletcher to close in. Matthew Fletcher didn't have a great time at Silverstone, had a top 6 in the first race, but midfield in race 2. So he arrives here at Brands Hatch, only 11th in the championship, the number 21 car. He's on the podium battle now. Look, the second of the sort of purpley coloured cars going up the inside of the other one, number 9, Jamie Turner, as they head for the left-hander at Surtees. Whilst this is all going on, by the way, out of the window I can see that the top 2 in the championship at the moment, Brad Jones and Alan Hawkins, have got themselves together as there is traffic at Clearways, and this is causing absolute pandemonium amongst the lead group. Not sure who that was. the 57 of Simon Browning, who was right on the line that the leaders were trying to use. Bateman therefore goes back to the front now with Turner second, Pimley third, and Matthew Fletcher back down to fourth. The point I was about to make, though, is that Brad Jones and Alan Hawkins are together on track now. Jones is continuing to plummet down the order. He's 11th place right now, with Alan Hawkins 12th. So Hawkins making great progress through the field, whilst championship leader Brad Jones is not having such a good time of it here. Big slide for Turner out of Druids as they drop onto this newly resurfaced section of track at Graham Hill Bend, and that's the only bit of the track really that has a decent amount of grip in the wet, the drivers have been telling me. Definitely see that dry line now starting to emerge, and this is where the experienced drivers will come to the fore, because of course, big lock up there for Pimley into clearways. In the wet conditions, that is the sort of line you want to be using. Nowhere near the apex. Stay as far away from that racing line as possible, because the racing line gets rubbered in. The rubber gets laid into the tarmac over the dry running, and that rubber gets wet gets slippery when it's wet, and so you try and stay off it in the damp conditions. But as it now transitions back towards a dry racetrack, the drivers have to make the decision as to when they get back onto the normal racing line. Pimley was not on the normal racing line there at Paddock Hill Bend, got squeezed out wide by Jamie Turner and drops in behind Matthew Fletcher now. So Fletcher back into the podium places. It's John Pethick still fifth, by the way, ahead of Del Pace in sixth. Then it is Jake Pace seventh. Bo Parry is eighth. He's gained some ground from where he qualified. Dengate ninth and 10th for McDonald. That was a big grassy moment there for Pimley, dropping down into Graham Hill Bend as he tried in vain to get back into the podium places. Blue flags now being shown to a few of the drivers who are about to slip off the lead lap as Bateman has a big moment going into clearways, and then maybe a bit of door banging from Jamie Turner. I don't think either of them were fully in control at that moment, and the back marker getting in the way again. This is brilliant stuff though between these top four. MX5 racing at its absolute best. It's Jamie Turner to the lead now, but Matthew Fletcher on the inside line, perhaps about get a bit of assistance from Pimley. Yes, he does. Around goes the 577 car out of Druids. That was Chris Thelwell for the second time off in this race. Fletcher to the lead, Pimley second, and Jamie Turner, who led at the start of the pit straight, might be off the podium by the time they get to Druids, because he's got Bateman back up the inside again. Although again, in theory, the grippier side of the road is the outside line. Although the drivers have been telling me that's not necessarily the case at Druids. Bateman hangs the tail out, blocks the path that Jamie Turner was planning on using, and the number 9 machine has to bail out of it. Disappointingly, we are nearly 2/3 of the way through this 15-minute race as the MX5 Clubman Championship once again putting on a really good show. The Clubman Championship designed to be for an MX5 Mark 1 Championship for the Clubman race. So for that reason, over the first 2 years of this championship's existence, didn't always provide the absolute closest MX5 racing of the weekend. But I was chatting to a couple of the drivers. Bo Parry was one of them earlier on today, and he was saying that the level of driving out there in Clubman these days has taken a massive step forward as more and more drivers, more quick drivers, come and race in Clubman, perhaps instead of the Mark 1 Championship itself, or as well as in the case of people like Brad Jones. And that means the racing quality has improved massively as well. So off to a fantastic start here this morning at Brands Hatch. There goes the number 20 car, that is, up the inside. So that's the recovering Christian Dan, who after 2 moments in this race finds himself down in 24th at the moment. But I think that was him going up the inside of the number 96 car into clearways, picking up one more place. So he should come across the line at least one spot further up than he already was. Back to the lead group. Is it raining again up at clearways? It's hard to tell whether that's fresh rain coming down up there. I don't think it is. I think we are continuing to see the track conditions getting slightly better. They're pairing off at the front now. Fletcher and Pimley getting away from Bateman and Turner. And of course, as the track conditions do improve, those who have maybe gambled on a slightly drier setup, a slightly stiffer setup on their car, might now start to come to the fore. More traffic ahead, 74 and 28. 28 is Chris Watts. He will be going a lap down very shortly. 74 is Jason Aisbert, who started at the back, and off at Paddock Hill Bend, the Misty Racing number 108 car, that is. And that is Amir Naran, who started 26th on the grid, as again the leader is held up in traffic and Pimley goes to the inside line. Oh, a bit of leaning on each other there as Fletcher tried to close the door, and thankfully Pimley bailed out of that, because that could have been a sizable shunt if that contact had continued. But dicing through the traffic is not something that MX5 drivers are all that accustomed to doing, really. Out too wide goes Fletcher there, trying to go to the outside of the 74 car of Jason Aisbed, who now is split by the recovering Fletcher, and Paul Bateman, who goes back into second position. He brings with him Jamie Turner, but that was a really couple of close calls really for Fletcher. Bateman got a mega run off clearways that time, and as they go towards paddock, might try and get up the inside of Pimley. Yes, he does. Commits to the inside line. Has he got the grip though? No. Pimley charging around the outside, where of course there were yellow flags anyway, because of the Amir Naran car that's being recovered from a gravel trap. It's been sensational stuff, and there's still a lap or so to go in this one. Fletcher back up the inside of Jamie Turner as they're slithering around in these incredibly difficult conditions. And Jamie Turner, having got back into the podium places, is not that keen on giving the place back away. There is Alan Hawkins, meanwhile, 7.22. He is now in 11th position. Brad Jones, by the way, rallying back now. He has calmed himself down a little bit, I think. I think it's fair to say, excitable southerner, and he's into 7th place now in the number 7 car. Could get 6th away from Del Pace, I reckon, before the race is done. So valuable points being scored by Brad. Championships are often defined not by your good days, but by your slightly off days, and I think it's fair to say this race has not gone to plan for Brad Jones, but he's recovered the situation pretty nicely. 2 minutes to go, so that should be 2 laps remaining, and that's Hawkins getting into it now with Kevin Dengate, Jake Styles in there too, Hayden McDonald involved as well. So Alan Hawkins, who had been recovering his race pretty well, it's now starting to unravel. I think that might drop him down to about 13th place now in the Jigsaw car. Alan, one of the pace setters at Silverstone, but yeah, on 12th position he is at the end of that 12th lap of the race. 2 laps to go then. Still any one of 4 drivers who could realistically win this race. They've got a bit more traffic on the horizon. If they're lucky, they might only catch one of those back markers though before the flag. Catching the lap traffic has certainly provided some excitement in this race, but it would be nice to see a straight up fight for the checkered flag between these 4 without them getting impeded. Oh, it's such a treacherous wet line there through Clearways Corner, which for some reason always seems to be the last corner to dry out here at Brands Hatch as well. Not quite sure why. It's not like it's got any tree cover particularly. It's actually one of the highest points on the track as well, so you'd think the breeze that's blowing through today would help the drying process. But you've got to go so close to the edge of the road, it's just flirting with disaster. Kevin Bird goes up the inside of Russell Halley there into Clearways Corner. Big armfuls of opposite lock on the exit, as again he finds that that inside line is not the grippiest place to be. So whilst this battle rages on, the leaders are on their final lap. They're heading towards Graham Hill Bend now. I can tell you it's still Jordan Pimley leading, Paul Bateman second, Jamie Turner third and Matthew Fletcher fourth. There they are. Is Bateman going to be able to get onto the tail of Pimley before the flag, and will they catch these back markers through the last corners? I think they're going to catch at least one of them, aren't they? So this could get very interesting. Which way does the leader go? Goes to the outside. That's the 57 of Simon Browning again. Bateman goes with him to the outside line, and I think that will just scupper Bateman's opportunity to try and get the win. It is going to be a victory by the looks of it in the opening race of the weekend, a fantastic opening race of the weekend for Jordan Pimley, who comes out of Clark Curve, sees the checkered flag and wins round number 3 of the BRSCC Mazda MX5 Clubman Championship. Paul Bateman second, Jamie Turner third, Matthew Fletcher fourth, 1.6 seconds covering them by the flag after a sensational battle that saw all 4 of them, I think, lead at least one point or other during the 15 minutes. John Pethick, by the way, comes home in 5th. Now that might give him the championship lead, given that Jones and Hawkins didn't score all that well, although Jones recovered 2-6. So no, Jones will retain the advantage, but John Pethick gains a couple of points on him. So Pethick 5th, Jones 6th, Del Pace 7th, Bo Parry 8th, 9th Jake Pace, and Jake Styles completes the top 10, with Alan Hawkins ending up 12th at the end of that race. Kevin Dengate only 13th. Quite a few drivers who will be a tad disappointed with that race, I would suspect. But they've got another race to come later on in the day. Of course, the Clubman Championship racing just over the 1 day at these events, so they will be our final race at 6:05 there or thereabouts. We've got 2 races before lunch, then we go into what should be a 60-minute lunch break. We are actually running, whisper it, touch wood, ahead of time for the time being, so lunch break hopefully will run to a full hour. We've got the MX5 Super Cup coming up next. That's for the newer shaped Mark III MX5s, and they are highly tipped to be one of the most exciting club-level championships in the UK this year. They will be up next, then we're into the lunch break, then the Mark 1 MX5 Championship itself have their first of 3 races before the 4-hour Fun Cup season opener takes us through the bulk of the afternoon, and then the Clubman drivers back out after that. So Jordan Pimley wins round number 3 of the Clubman Championship from Paul Bateman second and Jamie Turner joining them on the podium. Matthew Fletcher finishes 4th ahead of John Pethick, Brad Jones, Del Pace, Bo Parry, Jake Pace and Jake Stiles. Then Hayden McDonald was 11th ahead of Alan Hawkins and Kevin Dengate, with Kevin Bird in 13th place. Then, Kevin Dengate and then Kevin Bird 14th. Russell Halley 15th, Tom Davis 16th, Jack Worry 17th ahead of Will Breen, Tom Cannon and Jordan Head, with Christian Dan next ahead of Nick Ledoyen, Chris Whitmore, Peter Bell, Chris Thelwell, Simon Privet, Chris Watts, Jason Aisbett, Peter Williams and Tom Wood in 30th, and those last 5 all 1 lap down, so we had 25 cars left on the lead lap. Simon Browning, the last of the finishers, was 2 laps down. Amir Naran retired into the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap, and Michael Pearce, of course, having retired on the opening lap. So we have had a very, very exciting start to the day. Lots to talk about after our first race, and down there to chat with our podium finishers is Richard John Neal.
So the podium is going to have a completely different look to what we saw at Silverstone. Both the races at Silverstone were terrific, and today a completely different complexion with 3 new drivers gracing the podium here at Brands Hatch in very, very tricky conditions indeed. You can see the drivers busy just derobing, and a little bit of a celebration has happened already. Champagne ready to pop. Let's see if we can get Jordan over. Jordan Pimley, our race winner. Just grab a word. Even better. A bit of reaction. That's absolutely right. And no, don't apologise. That's all right. Jordan, well done, mate. Let's get you on camera, me out of camera. I think first podium and therefore first win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this was my first top 10 start as well, believe it or not. 2 years ago in the main championship, I was doing 20th, 30th. Coming to this, hoping to be a front runner, and yeah, pace was there at Silverstone. Didn't have the best of quali, but showing it now.
Well, congratulations on that. What's been different from that first meeting?
Well, first of all, I could actually start the car this weekend. I had battery issues at the start of testing at Silverstone. So yeah, well, it wasn't running great. But this year, this race, we made sure that it was spot on, and it's made the difference.
And not an easy race to win, because it was very top. So anyone that takes the time, if they haven't watched the race, to look at the lap chart, will see that it was up and down, and that carried on. Yeah.
I mean, it was so slippy. One little mistake, and you're out on the greasy part, and you know, top 4 are battling bumper to bumper. So made a move around clearways. Factoring in a back marker, which played in my advantage. So yeah, I'm well happy with that. Just want to say a quick shout out to my sponsors. You got Harry Bennett Foundation, amazing charity helping people get into sport. You've got Falcon Contract Flooring. I've been doing a bit of work delivering for those. ANP Training, who initially bought the car for me back in 2019. Yeah, without you guys, I couldn't do it. And it's a pleasure to get Close Racing's first win as well.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done to Close Racing. Well done to you. And we will see you for race 2, right at the other end of the day. What are you going to do the rest of the day, by the way?
I've not slept much in the last couple of days, so that might be something to consider. But yeah, a lot of family here as well, so I'll certainly be hanging out with those.
Jordan, well done again. Privileged to see you get your first win. Very, very well done. And second position, taking the Masters win, Paul Bateman. Let's get Paul down and have a quick word. Paul in the immaculate blue 42. What a topsy-turvy race that was. Just saying to Jordan, that was hard work. Obviously, you like the overall win, but Masters win's a good way to open the weekend.
Well, I do forget about the Masters. I don't consider myself 67 next month. So yeah, good. It shows that old boys can still do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for Alonso. but there's a bit of panel bashing which I didn't enjoy. But there we are. That's Matt.
Who's that?
Oh, I can't possibly say.
It's all secret.
Thank you to Paul Austin and all the gang at NHA. You know, the car, we made the right decisions, and all the preparation.
and all to do again in race 2. And I was saying to Jordan, a completely different look to the podium to what we had at Silverstone. That underlines the competitive nature of this championship.
18-month layoff, and I didn't know what I was capable of, and I came back to Silverstone and just sort of found my way again. And no, this is great. This is fantastic. I don't do too well at brands normally, so I'm very pleased.
Well done for laying that one to us. Well done. Thanks for chatting to us. Congratulations on that win and a fine second place overall. And we need to catch up with Jamie Turner in third place, guest driver, but a very welcome man nonetheless. Car's out on the grid for race 2 already. Congratulations, Jamie. So good to have you along as a guest. What's the story behind just coming in? Is he going to fire you up for more regular appearances?
Yeah, no, I should be doing most of the rest of the race test season, so it'll be good fun. This is a first podium for me, so I'm really happy.
Congratulations. Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't have the stats to hand, but well done.
Yeah, no, I'm really pleased. Cheers.
And what was the preparation like coming for this weekend?
God, being a bit nervous, actually hoping it was raining, because I'm much quicker in the rain, so I'm hoping for obviously a little bit more rain later.
Okay, I think it might do, because it's supposed to be dry when I'm in the commentary box later with Andy, and then when I come back in the open it rains again, so I think...
Great, you can be our rain charm.
Well, we'll do that. Congratulations on third. We're going to have great to meet you. Well done on the podium. So there is our first race of the weekend, the Downforce Radio Mazda MX5 Clubman Championship.